speak to, well, she is a small business owner and has owned multiple other businesses. Is that fair to say? Yes. And so she can also answer some questions, give us some ideas on what do we need to do? How do we navigate these waters? What kind of programs are there out there for us? And all kinds of information that she'll be able to lend us a hand in. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. So for those of you who are just tuning in, or if you didn't already hear me, there's a chat feature, and maybe Jackie, just correct me if I'm wrong in this, but if you do have a specific question that you would like answered, please type it in. Everybody, I believe, will be able to see it. So just type in your question there if it's something outside of what we do address, and then that way we make sure that everybody can take something away from this. So thank you, everybody. Welcome. And Jackie, do you have anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I think I'll say a couple things. Is that I'm going to be watching the chat, so pardon me when I don't maintain eye contact, because it's I'm not playing a game in the corner. I'm watching the chat. And I just want to say thank you, Kathy, for creating the platform that we could come together. And today we're going to talk about business. But before we do, I think I'd just like to say a few words about, even though we're, the group that's gathered, they're business owners, and that being the case, I want to acknowledge that this is a tough time. And that not only are businesses struggling, but we're struggling as individuals, and that it's okay. It's just okay to not be okay. And so even though we're going to give you business ideas, the intent of the financial talk is to give you ideas and strategies, but we hope that you have an overall comfort with the information that you're getting, and that it helps you breathe just a little easier, because you're just more at peace of mind. The reality is that money can cause stresses. And so we're hoping that we can alleviate that in our conversation. And so I just want everybody to give themselves a hug and be kind to themselves, because we're going through a tough time. And if we have loved ones or friends and family in Nova Scotia, the last couple of days have been extra hard. And Canada doesn't need to have a new incident like that. We were quite happy that our last one was 30 years ago. So I just wanted to, bring those words. I know Tanya and Rhonda are going to be able to give us a lot of information, and that'll be driven by your questions, but just everyone be kind to yourself.
Wonderful. Yes, Jackie, thank you. So while we're waiting for maybe specific questions, so please don't be shy and type them in there. If you have something specific that you want to ask, send it in. But maybe we could start, Rhonda, by just giving us maybe a bit of an overview or rundown, because it seems to me like the information is changing daily as to what's available, what programs are out there, how do we access them. And I think it's important to speak to both the personal and business level, because I know there's some people on here, or there might be some people on here that aren't business owners, or maybe they're inquiring for a spouse, or everybody's situation will be different. So I think it would be wonderful if you could kind of give an overview of what each of the programs look like that are available, and we can just have the conversation go from there.
Okay, so, well, Jackie has done a really great job in following along with this as well. So Jackie, please add and interject at any time. Let's just kind of start with what's known as the CERB. So the Canadian Emergency
Response Benefit.
So the CERB is also being kind of referred to as the $2,000 a month. So I think everybody understands that. So that's been a benefit that's really, for a lot of sole proprietors, is really the only thing that's been available to them, because most sole proprietors don't have payroll. So all of the other business benefits have been really based around having payroll. So if you're a company that doesn't have payroll, currently you're not receiving any help from the government as of yet. So the CERB is the $2,000 a month. So that's for employees that have either been laid off or have an interruption in earnings for 14 days or more. And they can apply for that. And the government, a lot of people have already gotten it. And I think some people are still getting it. The new rule that has just come out, which is really, really helpful for small business owners that have that are either restaurants that are still doing deliveries or curbside pickups, and stores that have some employees that still want to come in. So the CERB is now allowing the employees to be able to earn up to $1,000 per month and not restrict them from losing their CERB benefits. So that's a big thing that has just recently come out, and it's really super important to know that. So that's going to help a lot of the stores be able to bring their employees back and at least have them working for up to $1,000 a month while they still are continuing to receive their CERB. So that's important because a lot of small businesses were having employees saying, no, we don't want to come back because we're going to get $2,000 for staying home. And we don't want to come back because we're not even going to make that working there and we're not guaranteed anything. So
Right.
that's been a really big thing. Jackie and I have been having lots of conversations about what does that $1,000 mean? Is that gross income, so cash that's just been received, or is that net income? So for the small business owners, that makes a big difference because you still want to continue to be able to have sales if you possibly can, and not be restricted. It doesn't take very long to have, $1,000 in sales and then be restricted from the CERB. That's if it's gross sales. So we've been, the legislation still hasn't come out on this. They're saying this, but I think that if you were asking my opinion, what I would do or what I am currently saying, keep it in mind. But I think we really have to look at net income, because for a lot of people, let's say you sell makeup and it costs you 50 cents to buy sell $1 of product. So, if you sell $1,000 and it's costing you $500 to buy that product to sell it, it doesn't take very long to just all of a sudden restrict you. And again, you saying, yeah, I'm not going to sell anything because it's going to stop me from collecting the CERB. So and also, if anybody has ever collected EI in the past, if you are a self-employed person and collecting EI, they have previously said that it is net income. You're allowed to deduct your expenses against that. So, that's where I'm where my opinion is. They're obviously going to come down with legislation, but right now I'm saying to people, assume that it's that it's the net income rather than restricting your CERB. So, Jackie, anything to add on that?
Yeah, and there's a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
So first one is what happens if you earn over $1,000, and the answer is you don't qualify. That's the threshold. And whenever the program's put in place and there's a line in the sand, there's always going to be people on both sides, but that's the number. And then Kathy, and thanks Ina for the question. And Kathy, you said, do we need to reapply each month? And the answer is sort of no, but yes. You don't have to reapply. You have to reaffirm that you haven't earned the money. So there's some questions that you answer when you apply. So you have to go back in and reaffirm those questions to get your next payment.
Or call. So you either go online up to the my account through the CRA to answer those questions, basically attest that you haven't made more than that amount. So remember, once you attest to that, they have that. And so make sure that you do stay below that $1,000 if you are still making some money.
And then Heidi has a question about overdue invoices that get paid in the CRB benefit period, and would it affect the qualifications? So now we're back to net income versus gross income. And Heidi, we have our understanding is that I've gone past Mark Gerritson's office, and I can't get absolute clarity on the definition of net income. So I keep pushing. I can just tell you that Rhonda and I want it to be out of operating expenses. Not that you could go out and do a bunch of things and earn it, but yet your operating expenses. So if those invoices were for general operating, then, you know, I would say that would reduce your income and therefore maybe create the situation where you're qualifying. Am I answering your
Well, I
question?
think you're meaning, Heidi, you're meaning like that I think it was Heidi. So that if you had sent an invoice in February and then you received it in March, does that count or disqualify you from collecting the CERB?
Oh, okay. Invoice coming in, accounts receivable? Yes, it does.
Anything that's past 90 days. Because it's two different sets of books. So correct me if I'm wrong, work that was done in December that you're getting paid for in April is because it's over 90 days, is that going to count?
Yeah.
So again, there hasn't been any legislation written on that yet. That's all going to come. You know, they're still kind of running to catch up with themselves. So, and you know, I definitely think that they did a really great job in getting the money out as fast as they could to both small businesses and to individuals. So, you know, I'm definitely happy about that. And so to catch up to the information and the legislation, you know, I personally am okay with that as long as people are still able to continue to operate. So, you know, I think that I would say that's not new income. That's income that you should have still reported on a previous month or that sort of thing. So, you know, I wouldn't count that as income earned during the CERB, but they might look at it as cash collected. So anything cash collected could be counting as disqualifying you from the CERB. So right now I would say, you know,
So I've got more questions. So the first thing, as I want to say, is that the reason we don't have legislation because the House has to sit, and we know all the conversation that's happening around whether they should be doing in person and distance, and so we need Parliament to sit so they can pass legislation so that we can get those details. And so I have a question. As a sole proprietor who has income from other sources, I've not been able to figure out if I can or should apply to CERB. So I have income from something, and then I also maybe have a side hustle, and only my side hustle has been impacted. So how does that, what do we consider income, Rhonda?
Well, I would think that right now it would be considered to be employment income and self-employment income. So they haven't said anything about investment income. I haven't heard anything about that. Tanya, have you heard anything in regards to that? So, you know, so dividends, interest, capital gains, I haven't seen anything that says that if you have any of those, that it would disqualify you from CERB.
Yeah, no, nor have I. And I've received documents from investment firms, and it doesn't comment. Lori brings up a great comment that we have to remember to put the tax aside. Sorry, Rhonda, I was talking over you. So Lori brings up a comment, remember to put tax aside. So take your best estimate of what you owe, because you'll owe that in April.
You're not deducting it, and then all of a sudden, next year, you're gonna have that $8,000 of taxable, or $6,000, whatever it is, of taxable income. And yeah, so make sure that you do have some money available to pay the tax on that, or do an RSP contribution.
Or hide it in TFSA.
We'll get to you, Tanya. We'll get to you. Rhonda, question that Joanne has is the 40,000. I've heard this many times. The 40,000 is more debt. Can I apply for the CERB if I don't have income, net income?
So the 40,000 for the business, and then applying for the CERB, you can, but it's more beneficial if you have a small business and you're applying for the 40,000. It's better to pay yourself a salary from your corporation versus apply for the CERB. You will actually get more of a benefit. So it's $2,000 a month versus about $3,400 a month if you do it through your business, paying yourself the maximum salary that they talk about in regards to, in regards to the wage subsidy, the 75%.
That's the 75%?
Yeah.
So you have to have a pay.
Everything's kind of working together a little bit. The 40,000, if you get the 40,000, then, I mean, you could still, depending on the structure of your business, you could still apply for the CERB.
Or do the wage subsidy.
Yeah.
Now, there's fine details in the wage subsidy that you can't pay yourself any more than you already were prior to COVID. So when you're getting to those little details of wage subsidy versus CERB, you're going to need to talk to your accountant to get your specific information. So the answer is potentially yes, Joanne, but we don't know whether it's a good idea until you get your professional to look at your books.
Yeah, and that's the thing that has been the biggest challenge, at least for accountants and business advisors during this period, is that, you know, we have to look at every single person individually to see what's going to be best in their situation, because it really depends on if you have payroll or if you don't have payroll, or, you know, what your business structure is. To look at all of those. So it really is important to, you know, really talk to your business advisors and work through that, because you know, especially even the wage subsidy, it's pretty complicated. So.
And do you have maybe speak to the dates for that $40,000? What was the repayment, if it was repaid within a year? Or I know that there was something where they would forgive 10,000 of it. So maybe if you could speak to that, of what those dates are.
So that the 40,000 is a loan. So yes, you would be incurring debt. So that's a $40,000 interest-free loan from the government. It needs to be repaid by December of 2022. So December 31st of 2022. So that's basically almost 2.5 years from now. And if it is repaid by that time, they will forgive 10,000. So you only have to repay 30,000 of that loan. That 10,000 that is being forgiven will have to be included in income, but that's going to be included in your business or your personal income. So if it's in your business income, it's going to be in your corporation. Tax on that is going to be 12.5%. You know, still worth the $10,000 that you're getting for that as well. So,
yeah, I think so far we've answered. If I've missed a question, could you please retype it, because the chain is.
Okay, so I see that there's somebody there that spoke to someone at the CRA that said that investment income is considered to affect CERB. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that surprises me. And so that's something that it surprises me for a couple of reasons. The first thing I'd say is how much investment income will there be right now, Tanya?
Do you know what? To be quite honest, it depends on the client and it depends on the amount of money. I still have clients that are in dividend investments that are still yielding 5%, not more.
So when I've seen the questions and I've seen the dialogue around CERB, it's always been about employment income. So I'm surprised that the CRA rep is confirming that
as well.
So Ina, you know, Kathy, I'll take that as a takeaway. That surprises me. And I'll get clarity, and then we can, I'll have a list of people who came on, or we can post the answer on Refined. That really surprises me. And I know that there's been times when I've phoned CRA and then called back and got a different answer.
Different answer. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. So, you know, everybody's doing their best, but let me take that as a takeaway. And Rhonda, I mean, it does surprise me. It's not employment income.
Well, you know, I can see that because even when you're on EI, they really look at, did you receive any type of income? And so they're really looking to see, like, are you able to support yourself without us helping you through other means, or do you really need us to help you
But they don't typically make you redeem assets to, you know, so let's get clarity. Let's just not, we'll get clarity on that,
because I think what's happened is there's just a huge wave of people that went and applied for CERB because everyone was kind of panicking at that time. I mean, I have business owners that have called me and said, oh, it's all good, I applied for CERB. And I'm like, just cancel it right now. They're like, should I even cash the check? It's like, just you're going to cancel the program, you're going to get out of it because that's not where you should have been. So, you know, there's a lot of correcting people that just kind of applied for CERB in a panic. So I can see there's going to be a whole wave of questions and confusion, and I don't know what they're going to do as far as auditing that goes, but you know, we're just going to have to see. So, you know, I would say just, you know, we're just going to be careful with that for sure, because you know, you're attesting to the fact that you haven't received any additional monies. So if you come back after and you did receive monies, they could consider that to be a fraudulent statement. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think it is important for us to make sure that we do have those. But the other side of it is that they, you know, there isn't a lot released. So, you know, that's going to be a difficult situation for a lot of people.
Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So does anybody, it'll come to me. Anybody else have a question when it comes to the benefits that, because I think I've covered them, at least the ones that were asked of us.
And maybe while we're waiting to see, I was going to say, Tanya, you were asking something to the effect of auditing before we kind of jumped in the room. And now that there's more people, could you maybe address that question?
So it's funny, so this $40,000 loan, I have—
Tanya, can you turn your volume up for us, please? For some reason, your voice isn't carrying. I'm not sure what that's about because it normally carries.
Right.
Right.
Better?
Better, thank you.
Yes, better.
Okay, so this $40,000 loan, I have had clients that do qualify for it according to $50,000 between $1 million with payroll. They have corporate investment accounts. They don't need $40,000, but they can get it interest-free until December 2022. And you answered one fabulous question, $10,000 is still taxable. My comments to them was, do not do anything until you speak to your accountant. But then because there's so many loose ends on this, it reads that we have to use it to run our businesses.
Absolutely.
And we've got people out there that are going to use it possibly, or thinking to use it possibly, to put into their investment accounts and then pay it back interest-free in 18 months.
So I've had a few conversations with people in this regard, and the bottom line is they're going to be watching for it, and it is for operating, and it's for operating. And if you don't do it and you're caught, and it looks like, you know, it's absolute, it's not that you were trying to put groceries on your table and so you made a mistake. You didn't keep in the spirit of the program. So if we go back to the beginning, is we're living in a world that's hurting, and our government has stepped up, and it might not be perfect, but they've done a pretty darn good job of helping a lot of people on a wide basis. And the spirit of it is, if you need money, these are the programs. If you don't need money, that's not the spirit. You shouldn't, you know, the people who don't need money and still have the capacity to spend or buy or support, we should be doing that, because our economy needs to keep going forward. So it's not the time, it's not in the spirit of what's going on in the world that we're using these programs for gain.
No, and I get it. This is what I've been telling that the few.
And that's right. And Ron, did you have any more comments to that?
Well, I guess that my other comment would be in regards to that is that I have told the people that maybe have, let's say, you know, 20 or 30, they can cover their next few months of operating expenses. I've told them, you know what, I think you should apply. And you should apply because are we going to be shut down for 2 months or 3 months or 6 months or a year?
Absolutely.
And are you going to need that 6 months from now? You just haven't recognized that today. So I have told people that, you know what, you could run into a cash flow, maybe not in 2 months. So I think you should apply, and if then you don't need it, you pay it back. You know, you'll still have the 10,000 forgiveness. Again, that's going to be income to you. But to me, it's like keeping the business still in a safe sort of time when we're still in some uncertainties. So,
Right, so,
you know, I totally agree with Jackie. Like, if you really don't need it and you don't have rent and you don't have staff and you don't have, and you've got money, you know, and that's really just a personal holding company or a service company, then yeah. And if you don't need it, then, I've heard also a lot of people like, I haven't gotten anything from the government ever, and I'm going to do this. So it's like, okay, well, I get it. I understand.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, so Kathy, you asked a question of if you pay yourself through dividends or owner's draw, not payroll, do you qualify for the $40,000? And so that means that you have payroll. Again, Tanya, just for clarity, you mentioned a $40,000 or a $50,000 payroll. It's moved down to 20.
Right.
So, does someone qualify who has no payroll account or does not have a payroll account of over 20?
No.
And this is Rhonda's answer.
No, you don't qualify.
So the answer is no for the people who.
Right. And so that means that you have to have a payroll account in 2019. So not just even starting in 2020. So.
Yeah.
Good. I just wanted to address that because I know in some conversations that have come up, people are talking, I pay myself this way or that way, and I don't have payroll. Is there anything for me? So I just wanted to address that.
So while we're waiting for questions, I do have, I'm sorry, Joanne, I just saw your question. If you're receiving CPP, is that considered income?
Yeah,
I believe so, Joanne. And I'll link it back to a conversation that I had or a call that I listened to, just like this, with Mark Gerritsen. And he said that, retired people had their income prior to COVID. And so COVID did not impact your income. And these response programs are about, did COVID impact your income? If the answer is yes, they're there. If the answer is no, it's not in keeping with the spirit. So if you've got CPP, that was your income prior to COVID, so they don't see that as part of the program. So Heidi has a question. Process for applying for wage subsidies. Ron, did you know that?
the process for applying for the wage subsidy.
I believe that you go to the My Business portal if you have one.
Yeah, so the process is, so there's a few programs. So there's this 10% program. So that's 10. So if you, let's just back up here. So in order to qualify for the 75% wage subsidy, so that's 75% of the wages that you pay to your staff and yourself if you had been paying yourself through payroll previously. 75% of that amount you can apply and get that back from the government as a direct refund. That's the 75%. So in order to qualify for that, you have to have had income for March of 2020 at least 15% less than your income from March of 2019. Okay. Then they expanded that and said, okay, well, maybe there's a few ways that calculating it, and you can look at a number of ways. So it can be based on your billings for the period, or it can be based on your cash flow for the period. And so you can compare March of 2020 to March of 2019, or you can compare March of 2020 to an average of January and February of 2020. And if your revenue is 15% lower than the amount that had been previously received or billed, then you qualify for that 75% payroll deduction. It's quite complicated. You kind of have to work through every single way. So I've kind of started by I do step one is March to March. Is there a 15% drop? Yes. Okay, great. We're done. We don't calculate anymore. Okay, nope. Okay, let's look at the next one. What about cash flow? What about comparing it to January, February average? So you kind of have to work through that. If you qualify for period one for the 75% wage subsidy, you will automatically qualify for period two. Okay, so you don't have to do that test again for period two. If you don't qualify for period 1 and then you qualify for period 2, you will automatically qualify for period 3. So if you've qualified for the previous period, you automatically qualify for the next period. And so that is going to be I think it's just starting to come up. That's going to be through your My Business account, or I think that they're also going to have accountants be able to have access through the REPA client. But through your My Business account, you're going to go on there. They're going to have a spot there where you're going to say, again, attest to the fact that you qualify for the program by having your revenue decreased by the amount. And then you're going to be able to put in your wage subsidy amount right in there. So for a lot of people, I've said, take this time to get your My Business account and to get yourself set up for direct deposit. So make sure your businesses are set up for direct deposit if you qualify for that 75%. So if you do qualify for that 75%, you also qualify because you're also going to not have to send in the employer's portion of the CPP and EI either. So there's the wage subsidy and then the reduction in your payroll remittances for the employer's portion of that as well.
Okay, so thank you. One question, and then I want to start talking to Tanya. So the last question is so it's 15% drop and
March, and then for April and May the calculation is 30%.
Okay.
So because it started halfway through March.
Okay, so thank you. The last thing I'd like to mention is that there's legislation coming, we hope, around commercial rent. We don't really know much more than commercial rent subsidy coming. So those of you who are paying for rent, there should be something coming. And I'm getting the sense that the subsidy is actually going to go to the landlord who will transfer it down to you.
Exactly.
But stay tuned. We'll stay on top of that.
Yeah.
So Tanya, should I open my statement? So tell us, Tanya, how are your clients feeling during this time? What do you think is important for us to know as we navigate the other side of a business, which are the assets?
So I will go back to 2008 when I was much younger and I was a rock star. And it was a very rough period of time. Since that time, I don't do a lot of high risk investing. I do a lot of dividend-based investing. Low to moderate risk. For me personally, when I speak to my colleagues, I have received one negative phone call through this whole period, and it was from my mother. My clients are actually, because we keep in constant contact with them, because we've been sending them personal updates, not industry updates. So we do a lot of Coles Notes. As a whole, everybody's okay. They understand that we're going through a rough time. When we look at where they are today compared to where the markets are today, they're very happy. They're very appreciative of the fact that they didn't get into precious metals or oil and gas. My group is more mature. It's their children, and I was starting to tell a story earlier tonight before the group chat started. It's their children, and by children I mean the 20-something and 30-something-year-olds that I'm having the most interesting conversations with. So they're all talking about how, their buddy did this or their friends did that. And when I said, Mom and Dad opened up this account for you 10 years ago, and you've never seen it, and this is what it's done, because we haven't gone rock star status, they're really appreciating the fact that you don't go with what you heard about yesterday, that you go with what slow and steady, the turtle up the hill. And so for me personally, no, I have not been getting backlash. All I've been getting is deposits.
Yeah. So do you have any recommendations for people at this point, or what they should do to move forward?
Quite honestly, it depends on their age and their objective. If it's income, it's one stream. If you're coming to me as a 40-year-old and you don't need the money for another 7 years, it's a totally different stream. So it totally depends on the person.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Kathy, do you have any questions at this point?
I don't think so. I mean, lots of great information and lots of takeaways for sure.
See, this is my MFDA cover my ass conversation.
Yes, the regulatory bodies. Yeah, I don't think so. Does anybody have any specific questions about their investments or what should they be doing? In my other world, I speak to people that are looking to, you know, figure out capital gains, exposure, and that type of thing through donation channels. But we don't seem to be having a lot of those conversations right now. So I think some people are kind of scared and they're just waiting to see kind of how this pans out, if that's fair to say. There's a question there.
Okay, we have one question, and I mean the comments that I've heard, you know, from the investment firms that I've talked to is that there's anticipation that when we go back to normal, I use quotation marks because, you know, when and what that looks like, is that, you know, the drop, we should be, the recovery shouldn't take long. And, you know, so the bottom line is if you can wait, you wait. And then if you were nervous during the process, then just like Tanya referenced, you would then maybe consider a different investment makeup so that next time you weathered it differently. So one comment coming, it says, I hear rumors about things coming out for the self-employed, non-payroll small business. Is there anything in the near future or truth to this? Well, commercial rent, if that is going to help you, but I haven't heard any, that they reduced the payroll to 20,000, which helps some of the small businesses.
I think that they're going to, you know, I would hope that they do look at that they do look at people don't always pay themselves through payroll, that some people do dividends, and that they do really look at that because that is the strategy for some people. It just makes sense for some people. And you know, so to penalize them for doing appropriate tax planning based on their current situation isn't really fair. And they're just all kind of sitting there right now going, hey, I run a legit company. I just always pay myself with dividends. You know, or you rethink your tax planning, you know, because maybe that isn't the best. I mean, I know for me, I've moved more and more people to salaries versus dividends just for a lot of different benefits, because there's a lot of benefits to having salaries versus dividends as well. So, you know, you do have to, you really should talk to your people about that, your accountant and your financial advisors.
So,
and
Rhonda, when you talk about the benefits of going on salary, what would they be?
the benefits of going on
Or
salary.
just highlighting them.
Well, it's considered earned income, so it increases your RRSP contribution room for the next year so that you can do an RRSP contribution where a dividend doesn't. A dividend is typically taxed at a little lower rate on your personal return, but the corporation has paid tax on it, so you end up doing the same as you would have for the personal rate. So if you take into consideration the corporation and the personal, a dividend and a salary typically work out to be about the same amount. With a salary, you do pay CPP, so that could be a pro or a con depending on your views. With a dividend, you don't. So those are kind of the biggest things. The other thing with a dividend is you usually declare it once a year, and you don't do any payroll remittances or monthly amounts to the government. You would do it through your personal installment account, or you just pay it at the end of the year. Whereas on payroll, you have to do those monthly contributions to the based on the amount that you've deducted for CPP and tax. That's for your owner employee because they don't pay EI. And so for a lot of people, they just find a salary more admin. But I think in a lot of ways it's better to have those items through.
And then if I would have Tanya jump in. There's a benefit from a financial planning perspective if a small business owner has an income when it comes to risk protection. Is that correct, Tanya?
So what I basically do, just to add to what Rhonda had stated, was my incorporated clients, if they're anti-salary, I always recommend that they at least pay as much as the maximum CPP contribution. If nothing else, they go from there. As for
Approximately 55,000
exactly,
in and around that.
investing dividends and do whatever. I'm still not happy that our latest government got rid of our right to give dividends to other shareholders and corporations, because that destroyed generations of tax planning.
Yeah.
As for protection, the small
If you're
business,
trying to put disability in place, does a person not need an income?
they totally need an income. And it's funny because as business owners have reportable income and then lifestyle income. It does make it very difficult to sell disability insurance to somebody who lives in a $500,000 home but claims a $50,000 a year income.
Understood. So, and I just mean to bring those ideas forward as something to talk to your advisors about, because the pros and cons of how much you declare out of your business as income are, there's other repercussions than just taxes. There's also
Now, my biggest argument with some clients, not recently, but over years, was I can't do my job unless they have a proper accountant, unless they have a proper lawyer, unless they're getting team advice as opposed to individual advice. So when I sit down with my clients, my first question is, who's your accountant, who's your lawyer, and let's put this all together. And when they have 3 people telling them very similar stories or the same story, they tend to listen to it a little bit better.
absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. Great.
So, Kathy, do you have go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, no, I was just saying, no, thank you for speaking to that, Tanya. That's great.
Yeah, so no more questions at this moment. So if anybody has a question, even off topic,
I have a quick
still got a
question
few
for
minutes.
Rhonda.
Well,
Pardon me?
I have a quick question for you, Rhonda.
okay.
Because I'm the wonderful, fabulous mother of 6, I'm joking on that one. The one
Six are the fabulous.
Yeah. I was like, there are 6.
The one big thing that I'm hearing from this younger generation, and not so much a concern with my children, but you know, we're hearing it through their chats and everything else. They're loving this emergency relief benefit, and all of these kids are applying for it, and they're all getting it.
So 15 years, so the requirement says you have to be 15 years old or older, and you have to have earned $5,000 in 2019 or in the last 12 months. I mean, my son even said to me, Mom, couldn't we just say that happened and you pay me and then I'll apply? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
So the thing is that absolutely the application process is extremely simple, and that's because the government wanted to get money in people's hands so they could buy groceries. But you can rest assured that there's red flags that will be put in place. And if you haven't ever filed a tax return and now you've applied for CERB, or, you know, because you did it by phone or however you did that, or you've never earned the numbers, they're going to be asking questions. And
Eventually there'll be a knock at the door.
yeah, well, you have to assume there would be. And so, you know, be mindful of that. And I just got to go back to what's the spirit of these programs?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Advice I've given, because I've reached out to the moms and the dads and said, you know, your kids are doing this.
yeah.
And you be mindful that they're getting this money and they're going to be taxed on it, and they need to be putting some of it aside just in case that ugly knock comes to the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. That ugly knock that doesn't say we want the tax on that ugly knock that says we want it all back.
Yeah, we want it all.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and Trudeau said there will be significant penalty. So they want more plus some. If somebody's been absolutely using the system for not the right
It's
reasons.
not
So,
intended. Yeah.
yeah. And, so we just always got to lead with the right,
Yeah.
lead with love. That's not what that meant. Yeah,
Like they say, let your conscience be your guide.
exactly. That's a good one.
If
So,
you can live with it, well, that's what,
yeah,
but
yeah.
if you can't, then don't do it.
yeah. So we have 10 minutes before we will wrap up. I mean, we don't have to use our time, but does anyone have anything else that they'd like to cover? You can see, I know, Kathy, you'll talk about the Facebook posts and the series and what topics will all be covered. I just want to say one thing before I throw it back to you, is that if people don't know about it, make sure you check out YGK and then CARES, ARES, and you'll find them at www.ygcares.com. And they're a peer support group where people come together to share both give and get information. And there's YGK champions on a cross section of professions, from marketing to, counseling. So, and every Friday at 9, there's a call to hop on. And I know that there's, I forget his title, but he's a therapist. I forget his exact qualifications, and he'll be talking about the stress of what we're going through emotionally, and that's Friday at 9. So another great resource.
Yeah, there's lots of great people in the community doing all kinds of things right now.
Yeah, so I just want to mention that one because that's a great group. If you haven't heard of it, just look up www.ygkares.com and you'll find the path to get on future calls.
I
So
wanted to just
Kathy.
mention one more thing too, because Jackie actually brought this came to my attention this week. I've been talking to a lot of clients lately about just having challenges with schooling their children now. And I wanted to just make sure that everyone knew, and all of the parents know, that there is that one-time benefit of $200 per child for all children under 12. So I don't know if you have, if everybody knows about that or if they've applied for it, and that's through the Ontario government.
Yeah.
So, I just say spread the word on that. I've definitely talked to people that have either had to buy, tablets or equipment or things, or they're just having lots of challenges teaching their kids because now they've become the teachers. So, at least there is that $2,000 or $200 per child that parents can get back for that too. So, I think that's something that, do it, that's a small piece that's, for those
Absolutely.
parents that are trying to teach their kids there.
Yeah, so that's an Ontario government initiative too. So
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's going to be more stuff coming up. So, just keep your eye on it. Keep the eye on the CRA, if you just Google Canada Emergency Response Plan, it's got a really good little website there where you can go into for individuals, for seniors, for businesses, and all of the information is in there and linked. And they update it almost every day. So the information is there, and then, work through, there is more to that wage subsidy, Heidi, as well, with there's a 10%. If you don't qualify for the 75, there's a 10%. So there's more stuff there. If you do have wages that are continuing on for your small business, definitely talk to your accountant. There is a lot of things going on there for sure. So, or work through the numbers. So.
Great. And actually that is a good segue because as we mentioned at the beginning of this call, this is going to be a bit of a series. So we wanted to really stay engaged with the community members and, partner with our our friends of the magazine to bring kind of the experts to the table. And so tonight, obviously, we talked about financial wisdom, but on Thursday night, our panel is going to be around family wisdom. So speaking to that, we've got Brooke from Oxford Learning and Amanda Hammond. Amanda and Daryl, I believe, are both going to be in the group with Hammond Psychotherapy Services. So really addressing all the stresses and challenges of trying to homeschool, work from home, giving yourself grace, realizing that at the end of the day, everyone's kids are in the same boat, and my kids are definitely playing more Fortnite now than they probably should be, but that's fine.
I wouldn't know. Mine doesn't get up until I've gone home from work. Their schedules are just.
Came home from university early.
Yeah. It's interesting times. So to speak to that, so this is going to kind of carry on and continue. So every Tuesday and Thursday night from 8 till 9, we are going to be running this series, and hope that people kind of join in and connect and have the opportunity to learn and just feel a sense of community, ask questions. We've got wellness coming up, and we will post this all on our Facebook page. But we've got a wellness program coming up, something around homes. If you need to sell your home, maybe you've got some time and you want to, do some renovations. How does that look? We're going to do something around pivoting your business. So we're going to talk to some people in the community that have done that and have done a really good job of that. We've got a whole bunch of great stuff coming. So stay tuned, because we're firming up the calendar as we speak. And so, as Jackie mentioned, we are going to put this on the Facebook page, so people will be able to reference it back to it. And we're going to put all the information on the Facebook page for what's coming, and it will be a Facebook event. So please continue to tune in and share and engage, because I think there's so many areas. Even if your day-to-day is spent in the financial world, I think you'll still get some great takeaways from sitting down and learning, something from Amanda or Brooke on Thursday night, or next week talking around holistic nutrition, or, just why am I going to the fridge every 4.5 minutes? So, I think
beer.
Yes. Yes. So we've got some things lined up, and we hope that everyone will come along with us and share in the sense of community that we're trying to establish here for everybody. Jackie, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think we're good. Hope
All
to
right.
see some familiar faces on Thursday night, but thank you so much for joining us for the first call. I think, and thanks Kathy for creating the opportunity.
Yes, thank you, everybody. And if you have questions, I'm sure reaching out to Tanya, Rhonda, Jackie, reach out
I
to
put
them.
my email address in the chat box, but I'm offering a complimentary hour to anyone who needs it. So don't hesitate to, for yourself or someone you know that needs some reassurance during this time, I can help them walk through the benefits.
Yeah, that's amazing. So wonderful. All right, everybody. Well, thank you. It'll be up on the Facebook page. Have a great evening, and thanks for joining us.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, good night.
Night.
Be well, everyone. Night.
Sir.
I just removed him. Kick him
Okay,
out.
I was gonna say, is there a way to?
I do, but I use it sparingly.
Oh, still recording, so we should probably.
Oh,